In 5 BC, the people of ancient Israel live under a double terror. They are crushed beneath the iron fist of Roman occupation and ruled by Herod, a paranoid king who executes his own family members to protect his throne. From a palace hundreds of miles away, Emperor Caesar Augustus orders a mandatory census. That single administrative decree forces a pregnant teenager and her husband to walk 90 miles from Nazareth to Bethlehem in her final month of labor. They arrive to find Bethlehem not as a sanctuary, but as a packed, unforgiving outpost. Every guest room is full, and the village is crowded with travelers registering for the Roman tax rolls. With no place to stay, they retreat into a cold, dark cave used to shelter animals. The first witnesses to the birth are shepherds, marginalized laborers considered so unclean by the religious establishment that their testimony wasn't valid in court. In this dark cave, the King of Kings enters the world in absolute humility. By starting his life among the outcasts, he bypasses every traditional center of power and wealth in the ancient world. When Herod hears news of a newborn king from visiting Magi, his response is explosive. He orders the massacre of every male child under 2 years old in Bethlehem and the surrounding hills. The family escapes in the night, beginning a desperate 400-mile flight into Egypt, funded by the Magi's gold. After Herod's death, they return, bypassing the dangers of Jerusalem entirely. They travel nearly 400 miles north into the rugged hills of Galilee. They settle in Nazareth, a village of barely 300 people that does not appear once in the Old Testament. In this insignificant town, Jesus grows up hidden in plain sight. For the next 18 years, the scriptures fall silent. This unknown carpenter remains in Nazareth, waiting for the moment he will leave the hills and change the map of Israel forever. His mission begins at the Jordan River. Geographically, this is the lowest land point on the planet, sitting more than 1,400 feet below sea level. Here, his mission is inaugurated at his baptism, but it is immediately followed by a trial. He is led into the Judean wilderness to face 40 days of fasting and relentless temptation, before eventually returning to his home region. After neighbors in Nazareth attempt to kill him, Jesus relocates his base to Capernaum, a bustling fishing village on the Sea of Galilee. Choosing Capernaum is a tactical decision. The town sits directly on the Via Maris, the ancient international highway connecting the empires of Egypt and Damascus. By settling here, Jesus ensures his message is positioned at a global crossroads. He bypasses the religious capital of Jerusalem to launch his movement from a diverse international intersection where the world passes by every day. He begins by recruiting the untouchables. He calls rough fishermen from their boats and invites a corrupt tax collector to join his inner circle. He reaches out and touches lepers, men's society viewed as a living death sentence. From the Galilean hills, he delivers the Sermon on the Mount, declaring the poor and the persecuted to be the heirs of his kingdom. These teachings, combined with miracles that defy physics, begin to draw massive crowds and alarm the religious elite. While his public fame grows, he holds a secret 3 a.m. meeting in Jerusalem. Nicodemus, a powerful religious leader with everything to lose, sneaks out in the dark to ask questions his status won't allow in the daylight. It is to this one searching man, whispered in the darkness, that Jesus delivers the most famous line in history, John 3:16. He explains that his mission is about a spiritual rebirth of the soul that no religion can provide. Jesus eventually leads his disciples to the far north, to a place known as the Gates of Hell. Standing before this massive cave entrance used for pagan worship, he explicitly claims his divinity for the first time. This claim at the geographical extreme of Israel signals that the time for hiding is over. He turns his face toward Jerusalem, setting himself on a collision course with the capital's authorities. His final descent into Jerusalem is a public provocation. Riding down the Mount of Olives on a young donkey, he fulfills an ancient prophecy of a coming king, drawing a massive crowd that hails him as a liberator. He enters the temple and physically clears the marketplace, overturning the tables of the money changers. It is a direct strike against the economic and religious corruption of the elite. That night, in an olive grove called Gethsemane, his anguish runs so deep that his sweat becomes like drops of blood. This rare physiological reaction to crushing stress marks the beginning of his final surrender to the events ahead. Following a betrayal by one of his own disciples, he is arrested and subjected to a series of illegal midnight trials. By sunrise, the Roman governor Pontius Pilate bows to the pressure of the mob and orders a Roman execution. The religious leaders believe they have successfully neutralized a threat to their power. They watch the soldiers lead him away, assuming the movement he started in Galilee will die with him. Roman crucifixion was engineered for maximum duration. To draw even a single breath, the victim has to push his body upward using his feet as a lever. For hours, Jesus endures this slow, agonizing struggle for air. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he breathes his last. In that instant, an earthquake splits the land, and the massive temple veil, the physical barrier between God and humanity, is torn apart from top to bottom. 3 days later, the tomb is found empty. Jesus reveals himself first to a group of women, choosing witnesses whose testimony was rejected by the world to announce this central event of the faith. Reports of his resurrection begin to flood the map. He is seen on a 7-mile walk to Emmaus, on the shores of Galilee, and eventually by a gathering of 500 followers at once. He returns to the Mount of Olives one last time. He leaves his disciples with a promise and a mission to take his message outward from Jerusalem to the ends of the earth. This journey across ancient Israel began at the lowest land point on earth and reached the limits of the Roman Empire within a few years. Today, that mission continues to draw people from every nation to the same spiritual rebirth Jesus whispered about in the dark.